Yo, still Mills, what's the deal, man? Yo, y'all gotta excuse my big forehead and all that, man. But I'm fresh up, man. I just woke up. Well, I didn't just wake up, but I woke up. Long night. My daughter's quinceañera was dope. We had a lot of fun, man. But I missed the fight, the Lomachenko and Ortiz fight. So the first thing I did when I got up was log into this fight. So peep game, man. Let's get into it, man. First off, I want to say this, man. Ortiz did a lot better than I'd expected him to do. I didn't expect him to do that good. I really downplayed his feet. I didn't think he had the competent feet on the scale of a Lomachenko, and I still don't. But his feet are good enough to where Loma wasn't able to capitalize off of the angles and the shifts that he's accustomed to. Now, granted, we also got to take into consideration, a 10-month layoff, not really training. You're in a combat zone. He hasn't really been in the gym, but nonetheless, any lesser fighter than Ortiz, Loma would have, even with how he was looking tonight, he'd have completely outclassed him. He'd have got him up out of there, possibly, man. So Ortiz looked really good in there, man, for considering somebody who had never been 10 rounds. It started to show, not 10, but 12 rounds. It started to show down the stretch. You started to see him fatigue. He was just posing a lot. He was holding a lot. He wasn't as effective. He wasn't as active. He just, he became a spectator, like Andre Ward said later on down the stretch. But I'm looking on my Facebook thread last night and I'm hearing, oh man, this was a robbery. He beat Lomachenko's ass. It's a lot of shit being said. I'm like, God damn, my man losing. He there getting crashed. And I come and I watch the fight and I'm like, I don't see how anybody can score that fight for Ortiz. I agree with the second scorecard, 16 to 116, 112. That's about what I had it. About six, I don't see how anybody can score that fight for Ortiz, man. I think what people do when somebody has a deep rooted aggravation for a particular fighter, minimal success that they had, or if it's a competitive fight, they're automatically losing the fight. Because that just goes to show, all right, the individual that you're hating on, that you can't stand, you think so. Well, I'm a hater, so I don't like saying, oh, you a hater, because I'm a hater. But the individual that that they're proclaiming as being gassed up or whatever the case may be, they're so high up on him that in their eyes, nobody is supposed to have any sort of level of success against them. And if they do, they're overrated. And I'm like, that's a really ridiculous claim to have, because as I've stated before, this isn't a title bout, but Lomachenko is a former world champion, unified. So he's the cream of the crop, and he's one of the best fighters of this generation. He's one of the best fighters of this generation. But you would still go out your ways to kind of just shoo him off. Oh man, you look, man. Like I said before, it's only so many people, and when you get to this level, even on an amateur level, it's only so many people in the world that are able to deal with you once you acquire a certain set of skills. Whether it's boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, even grappling, Greco wrestling or Roman Greco wrestling or Jiu-Jitsu. When you acquire a lot of these skill sets, Kyokushin, even martial arts to a certain degree, there's people who aren't willing to go through those fires because to get good, you have to get your ass beat. So motherfuckers ain't really trying to step in there and cultivate skills through punishment. So with that being said, there's not even that many people on this planet who are able to deal with you. So when you take that and you exemplify that to a championship level, you have to understand that these are some of the best fighters on the planet. You're not about to just go in here and just wash through a whole bunch of motherfuckers. If you do, even if a motherfucker just get washed through, he just got washed through in that fight. That doesn't necessarily mean, he ain't shit. I mean, there's been a multitude of great fighters who have been knocked out in the first round, in the second round. It happens. You know what I'm saying? Hagler got ironed out in 4 rounds by Hagler. Did I say Hearns? Hearns. I don't think I said Hearns. Hearns got ironed out in 4 rounds by Hagler. That isn't a knock to his level of greatness, and that was 4 rounds of hell. That's what they called it. So you're not about to. My point is, you're not about to just go in here and just obliterate motherfuckers just right out the gate. it's going to be people that's going to give you resistance, and Ortiz was able to give Lomachenko resistance. But because he gave him resistance isn't necessarily a win. You're able to offer up resistance. You're able to say, yo, I'm not about to allow you to impose your will on me, and I'm about to give you something to think about, as Ortiz did with his feet and his activity, his length. He did a lot of good shit in there, man. He was able to spin out and pivot with Lomachenko early on, and they were saying that, man, can he keep up this pace, throughout a 12-round bout? And I think he really started to fade around about the ninth. Right about the 8th and the 9th round. Then that's kind of when Lomachenko started to settle into a rhythm, and you started to see Ortiz become more of a spectator than a competitor in there, man. But it was a real entertaining fight. It was a great fight, man. I just think people really think that it's the same thing with the Teofimo fight, and I always go back to this. People hated they hate Lomachenko so much. And I'm not like I get why the people think that he's overrated. I definitely get that. People think that he's overrated. I understand why they think that, man. But because of that, any small and minute victory, or even a momentary success in the microcosm of a fight, they're gonna drag it. And like they did that with the Teofimo fight. Now, granted, Teofimo did win the fight, but people were being dishonest about it until Teofimo started pissing them off. When Teofimo started aggravating them, that's when they wanted to, oh man, nah man, Lomachenko was doing this, Lomachenko was touching it. And I'm like, I told y'all this. I told y'all this. You know what I'm saying? Stop listening to content creators and use your own visual to break down and unpack the fight. I told y'all. That fight isn't nearly as bad as y'all are dragging it out to be. I personally had it a draw with him and Teofimo Lopez. I personally had it a draw. But I'm not about to argue that Lomachenko won. I'm going to argue, if you think Teofimo won, I get it. I definitely get it. But to the degree that y'all were dragging it, no, I'm saying people, oh man, he can't win that fight in the rematch. Why can't he? It's just real aggravating, man, how people operate, and they just, it's propaganda shit, man. There's no way you can be honest and say that Ortiz won that fight. I don't see how you can sit there and honestly say that Ortiz won that fight. He did good. One thing that he did do that I liked, and I didn't expect him to do when I did a breakdown on it, was his going to southpaw. I thought that was real smart. Ortiz, he kind of overexerted him, so he exhausted himself. That's when he started to slow down. When you see him switch southpaw, that's kind of when the fatigue set. I forget what round it was in, but when he switched southpaw, just to give him a look and throw him off and force Lomachenko to pump, press the brake a little bit, that was smart, and he had a little bit of success in there. It was real high level boxing, man. Real high level boxing. I think that was a really good fight, and it was a great comeback fight for Lomachenko. It was a great comeback fight. Now, granted, he didn't look as sharp as he did against Nakatani in particular. I think that was his best performance in these past couple of years. He looked real sharp against Nakatani, and even with Richard Comey. But even in this fight, he still showed signs of brilliance in there. Late down the stretch, he's getting low up under combinations, man, slipping and weaving hooks and straights, man, in concession. You dig? In the 12th, in the 11th, it's really signs of feet. His feet. He still when Ortiz started to slow down, that's when he really began to utilize his angle. Not utilize, but capitalize off of his angles, because Ortiz was he was exhausted. He couldn't spin out as successfully later on down the stretch as he could early on in the fight. And Lomachenko would have success. I just think people are being real dishonest about the fight because they didn't expect Ortiz to do as good as he did. I personally didn't either. But when it comes to I try to keep shit as even keeled as possible. It's hard to do when when you're rooting for a particular fighter, but you still have to find that medium. Like, nah, bro. Like, nah. You got to be honest about it. So, in my honest assessment, there's no way you can sit here and tell me that Ortiz won this fight. Competitive? Yeah. Absolutely. Up until the championship rounds. And then you just seen Lomachenko take over in true championship fashion. There's no way you can sit here and tell me that he lost this fight. I don't understand how, like, y'all niggas is bugging right now, bro. Like, oh man, my biggest thing, my pet peeve with a lot of these niggas is, you know, he needs to go back down. He's too small for 35. Why? How is he too small for 135 pounds when he clear as day won this fight? How is he too small for 135 pounds when he stopped a fighter who had never been stopped before in the division? How is he too small for 135 pounds when he was once a unified champion in the division? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all gotta stop with this bullshit. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You have those phenoms. You're gonna have those phenoms, man. You're gonna have those motherfuckers who are able to transcend what it means to be a lightweight, a super lightweight, a welterweight, a junior middleweight, a middleweight, a super middleweight, a light heavyweight, a cruiserweight, a heavyweight, or a bridgerweight in certain sanctioning bodies. You're gonna have those phenomenons. You're gonna have a Canelo. You're gonna have a Mike Tyson. You're going to have a Lomachenko. You're going to have a Roberto Duran. You're going to have a Greb. What was it? Henry Greb? You're going to have a Mongoose. You're going to have a Sugar Ray Robinson. You're going to have unicorns, man. And that point where you see them start to meet, they're not as good as they were, or they're not effective as they were in their previous division. That's the division that they need to be in. If they're meeting resistance in this division and they're finding a way to persevere, that's the division that they need to be in. Because if he decided to jump back down and go fight them 30 pounders and blow through them, y'all have another reason to say, well, oh man, he overrated. Who down there at 130 pounds? Like, it's just the dumbest shit in the world, bro. Look at Ortiz's face. Does that look like the face of a motherfucker getting hit by somebody who don't belong in the division? Look at Lomachenko's face. Lomachenko get his blemish because of the tape. He got cuffed on a hook. The fist didn't land. This part of his hand landed. The tape scraped against that man's cheekbone. That's why he has that abrasion. Outside of that, he took no damage in the fight. Does that look like an individual who needs to move down in weight? It's like, god damn, man, I just really can't take you dudes serious, man. Like, what type of do y'all watch boxing, or do you just skim through it? There's no way anybody can sit here and honestly tell me with a straight face that Ortiz won this fight. There's no way. I gave him, let me see my scorecard. I gave him 4 rounds. This was the first watch. I'll go back and I'll watch it again, but I gave him 4 rounds. It was a tough fight. It was a good competitive bout. But I gave him 4 rounds, dog. I gave him 4 rounds. And if you think this is the Lomachenko that's going to show up against a Devin Haney, you are bugging the fuck out. I didn't see I saw a ring rust. That's all I saw. I didn't see any signs of attrition. I seen the dude who was just, my timing is off. I'm not as fast on my feet because I ain't had the opportunity to train like I normally do. I didn't see anything that's, that leans towards the fact that he needs to contemplate retirement. I didn't see none of that. I saw none of that. None of the sort. So don't sit here and tell me that he needs to drop down to 135 or 130 pounds, or Devin Haney is going to beat the shit out of him. What I want to say, like, who, and I'm not saying that Devin Haney is going to lose the fight or win the fight. Win or lose. I'm not saying any of that, because I think it's a 50-50 fight between him and Lomachenko. But who has Devin Haney been in there with on a from a skill set standpoint at their maybe not at their peak and in their prime, but a damn good quality operator? What opponent has Devin Haney been opposite side the ring of a Jermaine Ortiz or a Teofimo Lopez? Even though Teofimo Lopez lost to George Kambosos, we gotta admit that, but George that wasn't the best version of Teofimo Lopez. That wasn't. That was a Teofimo Lopez void of a game plan, went in there. I'm happy and overjoyed that he lost, but George Kambosos is not Teofimo Lopez. He's not. I'm sorry to tell you that Joy. If the Teofimo Lopez that fought Lomachenko showed up against Kambosos may not even make it out of the round, out of the fight. That's just being real. But he did beat him, so it is what it is. But from a skill set standpoint, there has been no fighter that Devin Haney has been in with outside of Jorge Linares, but Linares was washed at that time. There's no fighter that he's been in with that you can just definitively say, because look at how he did with him. So because he did that, he looked like that with him. Look at how you think he's gonna do Lomachenko? No, Lomachenko has been in there with too many quality operators. He's been in there with way too many. No, bro, no, fuck no. Like y'all gotta stop, man. Y'all and then even it's fighters on YouTube, not YouTube, but going straight to their Twitter accounts and talking in a manner that I would be Tank of all people. I'll knock him out. We've been wanting you to prove that for the past 2 and 3 and 4 years. I hate when niggas do that shit. That is just the corniest shit in the world to me. When someone doesn't look at, they look slightly vulnerable. Here comes everybody with something to say. Now, I don't have a problem with Haney and Shakur Stevenson. I don't have a problem with them going on Twitter and saying the shit that they say. I don't care about that, because those are 2 fighters that we want to see him in there with. One of those 2 are going to be handed over the reins to the division anyway. So that I'm cool with. But Tank? Nah, bro. Nah, You don't get to say shit. You sit back, you chill. You don't get to say nothing, because he's been calling you out for years. That's some Ryan Garcia shit. Oh, I would have knocked you out and I would have knocked Devin Haney out, but you didn't take the opportunity when you were mandatory. Tank, I'll knock him out, but you didn't take the opportunity when he was calling you out. You know it's bad when somebody has been calling you out and they stop calling you out, because they just know you ain't coming out to play. So I don't want to hear that shit from Haney. Not Haney, but Tank. I don't want to hear that from Tank. And just how dare you even have a goal to say some shit like that after you allow Rolly to pile up rounds on you. The Lomachenko I saw from last night stops Rolly and flawless victory. On some flawless victory shit. But nonetheless, man, the bottom line is I don't see how anybody can give Ortiz that fight. People just get they get overzealous when somebody is having success in a fight, or they're giving you a certain level of resistance that you may not be accustomed to somebody giving you. Canelo and Caleb Plant. Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders. You know how many arguments I've had? Oh man, he was getting beat. Okay, even if he got knocked the fuck out. Billy Joe Saunders was winning that fight. He got stopped in like 7 rounds. What am I missing? Caleb Plant was winning that fight. He got stopped, dog. Like, he got knocked out. Even if he was winning the fight, he didn't make it to the last bell in the 12th round. Man, look, Lomachenko didn't lose that fight. Stop gassing shit. Just simply say he looked good. He did better than expected. He gave resistance, but that's all it was resistance. He found a way around that resistance and persevered. Took him into deep water and drowned him in typical Lomachenko fashion. You can't start out fat. You have to have a gas tank in order to keep up that type of shit. That type of activity, that in and out, that bouncing on your toes, that high punch value, and just being an athletic and explosive fighter. You have to be able to do that shit for 12 rounds. I can't give you a fight because you was able to do that for the first half of the fight. I can't do it. especially in the down the stretch, your legs is locking up. When we saw that with Anthony Joshua, man, as good as he looked with Usyk in there slipping and getting under shots early on in the fight, you have to maintain that shit for a 12-round bout for 36 minutes. You have to sustain that. And what you do early on in the fight is going to have effects on you later on in the fight. And as we saw later on in the fight, he didn't have that fluid and elusive upper body movement. He wasn't bending his knees. He was standing straight up. You have to sustain that for a 12-round bout. And people are, they have such a level of vitriol towards Lomachenko that because the dude he was giving resistance and having success early on in the fight, then he got robbed. No. The right person won the fight. The right person won the fight, bro. Stop. But Ortiz was for damn sure. I think he proved himself to be a top quality heavyweight, lightweight in this fight. I will say that. For him to do that shit with Jamel Herring is one thing, but for him to give Lomachenko the level of resistance that he gave him, that's despite him being out of the ring for as long as he was and not being able to train, as much as he wanted to for this fight. That's still a damn good litmus test. That's still a damn good look for somebody to say, yo, okay. This dude is a problem. Because a problem is definitely what he is, man. He looked sharp in there, man. I was really impressed with what I saw. So I would love to see, and he's on the top ranked side too. And I would love to see him in there with Coleman and Nakatani and even the George Kambosos or in a Devin Haney. I would love to see him in there with all these cats. And I don't think he's going to be at 135 for too long. And with his size and his skill set, he can compete up there at 140 pounds. He can. He definitely can. So I'm looking forward to seeing this kid a lot more, man. This kid is good, man. This kid is good. For him to never go 12 rounds before him go 12. We saw he never went 12. But for him to finish the fight on his feet is a testament to his toughness and his durability. It honestly is, man. So I don't want him to hang his head low off of this loss, because in this loss is going to gain, in 2K, you got the attributes, you dig. After you hit a certain milestone, you get you get certain bars added to your attributes to continue to boost up your players your player skill set. That's what's gonna happen with Ortiz after this fight. So shout out to the youngin, man. I definitely think the kid has promise, man. He looks smooth in there, man. I was impressed with the IQ. I really was, man. The spinning, man, just his feet, his ability to stay in front of Lomachenko for a lot, even the rounds that he was losing, just to spin out and not get flustered and lost, and Lomachenko wasn't able to force him to reset, uncomfortably reset, trying to find where he's at and panicking. He stayed poised. He stayed composed in the pocket. He stayed composed when he started getting turned. He looked good. He looked good. He showed a lot of promise in this fight, and the switch hitting for him to go from orthodox to southpaw to give Lomachenko a different look. I thought that was really, 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 really high level in intelligence right there. So he looked sharp in there, man. I'm looking forward to seeing this kid again, but not even no fans or buts. The dude was nice. Dude was dead nice, man. But just stop with the bullshit. That's all I'm asking. And be real about it. I'm looking forward to Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. That's the fight that we all want. And I'm thinking that's the fight that we're going to get. Will we get a new undisputed world champion, or will this be, a successful second title defense on behalf of Devin Haney? PBC, pay attention. This is how you move. This is how you do fights. There's no reason why we should be getting Jose Uzcategui and David Benavidez instead of playing. Don't blame Bob no more. Peace.